This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. This Brandon Aiyuk situation is something else, man. Like, even if you don't think the Browns are going to get him, even if you think he's going to re-sign with San Francisco or that he might end up in Pittsburgh, you have to admit that this is wild. So for those of you who don't know, over the last 2 days, rumors surrounding the potential trading and courting of Brandon Aiyuk have gone nuclear. Feels like every NFL team has been involved in it, but the main culprits that keep popping up as potential suitors for a Brandon Aiyuk trade, and now I have to assume there's some smoke to this fire, are the Cleveland Browns, the New England Patriots, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers' relation to this trade is really like a lot of background rumors. Like, the rumors that point to the Steelers aren't rumors being reported by people who are usually reporting this kind of stuff. Like with the Brown stuff, this is coming from beat reporters in New England and San Francisco, and as well as our own Mary Kay Cabot in Cleveland. So like, those are three trusted beat reporters that are saying that the Browns and the Patriots are definitely putting trades out there. They have a framework ready for Brandon Aiyuk, and it's about picking the money. That's the report that came out late last night. It's late last night when I'm recording this video, a couple of hours ago if you watched this at 6 in the morning. So that is the news that dropped late last night, is that the Browns and the New England Patriots are the contenders. But what we have been hearing the most is Brandon Aiyuk to Pittsburgh. Now, how we've been hearing Brandon Aiyuk to Pittsburgh, not the most credible routes, right? It's a dude named Ricky on Twitter who's been right on a couple of things and also wrong on a couple of things. He said JOK was going to get an extension. That never happened. It doesn't seem like there's any smoke for that to happen, but he said that extension was coming soon and that it was going to clear up. Who knows? But it hasn't happened yet. Maybe that gets reported this morning and we start to take Ricky's stuff a lot more seriously, but it's Ricky, and it's like, maybe that Kevin Grandier account like leaked a rumor to Andrew Filipponi. It's all nonsense right now and hearsay. Anything that really connects him to Pittsburgh. I know he wore a Pittsburgh Steelers shirt. One thing to know from watching videos about Brandon Aiyuk from people in San Francisco, it seems to be a core personality trait of his to troll. And from what I know from being on the internet for a while, and from what I know from me personally being a troll, if I were in a contract situation and I decided, F it, I'm a troll and wear a shirt of a different team, the shirt of the team that I'm wearing is a team that I'm really not thinking about. It's just like troll shit. So it might be troll shit. I don't know. That's another thing to consider. Brandon Aiyuk is a troll. A known troll. This is a man who went on the Pivot podcast and talked about how he wanted to play for the Commanders, and then a report comes out that he doesn't want to play for the Commanders. Who is this dude? I don't know. He's kind of odd, but he's good at football. So that whole thing goes down, right? All day we're hearing. So let me go back a little bit, actually. Let me tell you where I'm at. All right, so we go back and we're starting from the beginning of Monday. All Monday, non-stop, all you hear is that a Brandon Aiyuk to Pittsburgh trade is coming. It's going to come. It's going to come today. No, it's going to come tonight. Actually, it's going to come Sunday morning. It's going to come Monday morning. It's going to come Tuesday morning. You're hearing non-stop. This Pittsburgh to Brandon Aiyuk thing seems imminent, but every time I was like looking for where this stuff was originating from, it's originating from like the Ricky account, right? It's originating from kind of official-ish sources, but nobody who's willing to put their actual name on it. And you know how I am. I don't trust nobody who tries to tell me something through an avatar, right? Like, if you're going to tell me something, I need to know who you are that's saying that, especially if you're giving me a rumor. I need to know who you are, and you need to have a reputation that you were worried about losing because it affects your ability to make a living. I don't really care about some random Twitter accounts, but that's what was happening. It was nonstop rumors about him going to Pittsburgh. And then in the middle of the day, a little little Cleveland nugget gets dropped in there, right? Where somebody drops in, hey, I think Cleveland is interested. I think they're working a framework out with San Francisco to get Brandon Aiyuk. Don't sleep on Cleveland. Don't sleep on New England. Okay, cool. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm going to sleep. And then I check Twitter, you know, because I do this job. I have to check Twitter a lot. Check Twitter before I go to sleep to calm my nerves, make sure nothing happened. I look here and I see a report that says, and let me get the report up. All right, so this is a report that is not just being reported from NBC Sports Central in San Francisco. It's also being reported from NBC Sports Center Boston, and it's also been corroborated with Mary Kay Cabot. So these are 3 beat reporters with reputations on the line that are saying this. This is as official as anything we've gotten on this Aiyuk thing. They are saying, and I quote, the 49ers have the framework of a Brandon Aiyuk trade with both the Browns and the Patriots. Now it's up to Aiyuk to decide if he will accept either team's contract terms. So what this means to me is that the 49ers have offered Brandon Aiyuk a contract. The New England Patriots have offered Brandon Aiyuk a contract and a trade framework that the 49ers are willing to accept. The Cleveland Browns have offered Brandon Aiyuk a contract and a trade framework that the 49ers are willing to accept. And now it's about picking the contracts that are available. Now, there is a chance that Brandon Aiyuk say no to all of them, and we could be doing this all over again. This does not seem like something super coordinated like Deshaun Watson, right? With Deshaun Watson, it was like qualifying for the damn Olympics when Deshaun Watson decided that he wanted to get traded, right? There was like a first 8. It was like recruiting on college football. There was like a top 8, and then he closed off recruiting to the top 5, and then he closed off recruiting to the top 3, and then he flipped to Cleveland in the last minute. This does not seem as organized. So I would not be surprised if the process ends up a lot more sloppy than what happened with Deshaun Watson. With Deshaun Watson, we knew for a fact he was going to go to Atlanta, he was going to go to Carolina, or he was going to go to Cleveland. Those were the 3 teams in the running, guaranteed. That's what it came down to. That was his top 3. This seems like he's been presented 3 options, not like he's finalized and he's gone down to his last 3 teams. This seems like the 49ers are saying, here are the deals. You can continue to try to work this out with us, or you can go to Cleveland, or you can go to New England. That's what it feels like to me. Now, again, I had a whole conversation about whether Brandon Aiyuk would be worth the $35 million contract or the $30+ million contract that the Browns will offer him. And I'm not like 100% positive on the prospect of doing that. So go check out that video if you want to know more about the perspective of doing this. This video is to sort out all the rumors and to tell you how I feel about what we've heard about this Brandon Aiyuk thing now that it's gotten hot enough that it's worthy of actually being taken seriously in some ways. Now, other reports that are less substantial surrounding this thing is a report that Brandon Aiyuk did not want to go to Cleveland because the contract terms that Cleveland offered weren't what he wanted. Now, I like to feel like I know a lot about how the Browns operate, and I'm pretty sure, and this is just me guessing, that the Cleveland Browns did one of them things, you know, Andrew Berry likes to do, which is play Would You Rather with guaranteed money, right? Basically dangle the prospect of $110 million right now in front of him. Like he playing Deal or No Deal with Brandon Aiyuk. He's like, you can get what's in here and it's $110 million, or you can try to get all of that $35 million contract that the Patriots going to offer you. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think the Patriots are going to offer the most money out of all the teams that are currently involved, right? Even Pittsburgh. I think the Patriots are willing to offer the most money. I think Pittsburgh will offer the second most money. They don't have a quarterback to pay. They don't have that many long-term responsibilities. They're hopeful that they could draft the quarterback next year more than likely. So maybe they see some value in giving him that much money, given that they're not really going to be Super Bowl contenders anytime soon. I know some Steelers fans have deluded themselves into thinking trading for Aiyuk makes you a Super Bowl contender. I seriously don't believe that is the case for that team. But it does make you a better place to develop a quarterback than what you are currently. So maybe the thinking there is we can give him 30, right? Maybe the thinking with the Patriots is they'll give him 35. Now, it might be the thinking of the San Francisco 49ers that, hey, we don't want to trade you to Pittsburgh simply because Pittsburgh's not offering what we want to get back in return. That could be a really simple fix for Pittsburgh. They could just up the offer if that's the problem. If Brandon Aiyuk is willing to take a little bit less money to play in Pittsburgh, and that's the problem, they'll probably fix that. I don't know how Aiyuk feels about playing for any of these teams. I don't think anybody knows at this point. Aiyuk is not going to put his emotions out there. Like, he's a pretty trolly type dude. I don't think we have a good read on it. I don't think anybody has a good read on what Brandon Aiyuk wants right now. So $35 million, like, I would assume that the Patriots are willing to offer the most money. I think the Steelers are willing to offer a nice mix of guaranteed and full money and probably $30 million a year. I think the Cleveland Browns are willing to offer him close to $30 million, but fully guaranteed if they have to. But I don't think the Cleveland Browns are willing to offer him like $35 million, like the Justin Jefferson deal or something like that. I don't think that's something that the Browns would do. So I think that's what the decision is. I think Andrew Berry's probably trying to convince him that you want the guaranteed money. That argument works with some. It does work with some others. We'll see. I get the inkling, and again, I don't think anybody has a good read on Brandon Aiyuk, but the inkling to me is that he wants money. I think he ends up in New England, right? Or back with San Francisco, because there is some value to not having to move all your stuff across the country. But that's the Brandon Aiyuk situation. Now, as far as a trade package goes for Brandon Aiyuk, we have no idea what that would look like. There's no concrete report on what that would look like. Some people think and assume it's going to take Amari Cooper. I can see why some people would assume that, but I also don't think that's a sound assumption, or is as sound as this assumption that some people are making it out to be. On the surface, yes, Amari Cooper's a good wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk's a good wide receiver. You swap them. Nobody really loses anything. And then the 49ers can still compete with the older wide receiver and decide what they want to do in the future. I don't think it makes very much sense because of how Amari Cooper's contract got reworked, and there's a lot of guaranteed money in a void year for the Cleveland Browns. Like, somebody's going to have to eat that money. Like, that contract and trading that contract is more of a headache for both parties involved than I think they would want to deal with in a swap like this. I think if the Browns make this move, I feel like the compensation would likely be Elijah Moore, Greg Newsome, and maybe a second round or third round pick, right? Depending on how high they are on those two players. Maybe you could throw a Wyatt Teller in there. Maybe you can throw a Jack Conklin. Wouldn't make any sense, but maybe you could throw a Wyatt Teller in there or something like that, right? But I think it would be something along those lines. I think the ideal would be to add Brandon Aiyuk to a room that has Amari Cooper. Now, Mary Kay has it in her article that she thinks this is a swap including Amari Cooper, that it would include Amari Cooper. I don't know what the compensation is going to look like. We are so far off from talking about what the compensation was going to look like. The contract, it's an Andrew Berry contract. We know that Andrew Berry typically likes to try to get under a certain number when it comes to value for his deals. And I think you'll hear stuff like, oh, he's interested in Brandon Aiyuk. He's interested in T. Higgins. I think he is, but he's interested at the right price. And we know that the Browns don't tend to move off of what they feel like is the right price. They will do anything to hit the right price. Like, for example, they felt like the right price for Deshaun Watson was $45 or $46 million guaranteed. Like, for example, with Deshaun Watson, they felt like the right price to pay him was about $46 million of annual salary. Because Deshaun had other suitors, the Cleveland Browns decided to make a tactful move and guarantee the full contract and maybe raise their price a little bit, but they guaranteed it so the overall number doesn't have to go up insanely high. And that's how they got Deshaun Watson. Is that how they're going to get Brandon Aiyuk? I don't know. Brandon Aiyuk and Deshaun Watson are two completely different people with two completely different values. Don't know what they're going to value in a contract negotiation like this. How possible do I think it is that the Browns land Brandon Aiyuk? I think there is if I had to put it in odds, and this is just based off of what I feel, right? Not really trying to source this out or anything like that. Not trying to report anything, just how I feel. This feels like a 15% chance that the Browns land Brandon Aiyuk. Like, it's an off chance, but it's possible. I also feel like it's a 15% chance that the Steelers land Brandon Aiyuk. I think it's far more likely that a team like New England or Washington lands him because they're going to be more willing to spend the money than a team like Pittsburgh or Cleveland. I also think there's a 15% chance somewhere in there that he just ends up back with San Francisco, because that's what makes sense to him, right? Because if the whole allure to signing with Cleveland is they give you a chance to win, then why would he just not re-sign with San Francisco, right? It wouldn't make very much sense with me unless Cleveland was willing to go crazy with the guarantees. But I don't see Cleveland going so crazy with the guarantees. And who knows? They might. Who knows? By the time you see this video, Brandon Aiyuk might be signed. But I think if I had to rank them, somewhere random like New England would probably be number one. Number two is re-signing with San Francisco. And then tied at 3 is Pittsburgh or Cleveland. Like, I think they're both pushes at this point for that third spot. But that's what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk. That's why the whole situation has gone nuclear. Nobody knows. There's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of smoke to the fire. So something's happening with Brandon Aiyuk, right? We know he's in a contract negotiation. We know that all of this noise coming from reputable sources is not nothing. Something is going on with Brandon Aiyuk. And again, if we think we could talk about if this is going to be a good thing for the Browns in the long run, if he's the type of player that the Browns need, is this a contract that the Browns can have at this point? Is the value as a player there? If this happens, we'll have a lot of time to talk about that. That's not what this video is about. This video is just about figuring out what the hell is actually going on, what is likely to happen, and what is actually happening versus what is just random rumors out there. That's why I think. Let me know what you think. Y'all have a great day. Peace.